X-Men 97 episodes
Your mom
1
listens? Mine doesn't. Okay.
No, it doesn't. X-Men 97. I think we've talked about this on the show before, but you and I have recently I've done a lot of homework on the X-Men, but before that it's always kind of been a blind spot for me.
Yeah.
I watched the Fox movies and all that, but I never really watched the cartoons that much.
Yeah.
So I was coming into this at pretty much the same point you were, with very little to no.
I watched, I think, the first, I tried to watch the first season when it first came out. I remember I said this on a previous episode. I bought the first, I can't remember what it was called. It was called, X-Men Adventures. The cover was by Steve Lytle. But it was the first episode of the cartoon in comic book, and it was the first one where they go to find Jubilee, and doesn't Morph die in the first
the first episode? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I had that issue. I bought it when it came out, because, dude, you gotta understand, when I was still collecting comic books, you bought everything that was X-Men, because who knew if it was gonna have a character that just blew up like Cable did.
Yeah,
that's seriously. It was mostly good storytelling by that point. I mean still,
but
most of it was just like, hey, you got to get the gatefold cover and the fucking hologram, fucking. Blah.
Yeah, the '90s though. I mean, because of what Claremont was doing.
It was early '90s when Claremont quit, or got forced
he
out.
was there for 17 years.
Yes, from
which I did
78.
not know that.
Yeah,
I knew he
72.
All I had known about Claremont's run. Before that was I just know that he had been responsible for a lot of the current, our views on the characters really come from Claremont. While they were created by Stan Lee and Jack,
some of them,
Jack Kirby, or was it
Jack Kirby? Yeah,
yeah. Well, it was created by them.
The original 5, yeah, and Xavier and Magneto,
but
and
Claremont,
a lot of that original stuff.
Claremont took it to a different level.
Dave Cockrum and.
So I had that knowledge of it. So that's really all I had coming into this show. So I came in with kind of fresh eyes. But again, being a kid in the 90s, I had seen the cartoon in passing here and there. I never religiously watched it.
Yeah.
So, but I'd be lying if I wasn't having some sort of emotion when I saw the intro, where I'm like, oh, okay, this feels like a Saturday morning cartoon. It feels like a throwback. And then you get into the episode, and it is still.
I think the animation is superior to the original.
I think it does a really good job of handling nostalgia, and using that and not leaning on it too much, and being able to stand on its own. But I mean, there's obvious baggage of a little bit of having some knowledge of that 90s cartoon. But I mean, honestly, you could kind of go in fresh.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you know
totally
enough
can.
About X-Men, I feel like you could kind of figure it out. But I don't know. Before we go into spoilers, we both really liked it. That's I think the animation is a little choppy at times.
I didn't.
But I felt
like it was
when they were talking, I noticed.
There was a moment during the second episode, and we'll talk about it after spoilers. But there was a moment in the second episode where I was like, okay, I see what you're talking about. But most of the time, I was either didn't notice enough, or it didn't really bug me that much. I thought the animation was superior. It was great.
Well, yeah,
it's awesome.
Sure. I mean, let's be honest. Those. I'd love to see them remastered, because the Batman the Animated Series looks great on remastered. But they were not made they were made cheaper than you'd think, because they had to have such long seasons, and so they had to make them on a budget.
How many episodes is this?
This is 8, I think.
Huh? Really?
Could be wrong. I think 8.
No, I mean that's fair, but cartoon seasons are usually 22, but
yeah. Whatever. Well, that was then. This is now.
Whatever. Okay, so
anyway, so with that coming in, I still think this made me smile a lot. This made me grin from ear to ear, because for me, what it boils down to, and it's going to sound real simple, but when it's just superheroes kicking ass and actually being good, it's fun to watch. I think we kind of lost that along the way. I think there's always these bouts where you kind of lean more on anti-heroes and shit. So it's nice to see kind of a throwback to that time, you know? But go ahead.
No,
I was done.
I was just going to say that I really enjoyed it. And, growing up myself, I grew up, in the early 80s reading. I came in, I'm trying to remember who the artist, I want to say Paul Smith was the artist when I started reading regularly. And then it was John Romita Jr. For most of the 80s. And then Mark Silvestri after that. Blah, blah, blah. But I read a lot of the, we're about halfway through Claremont's run all the way to the end. And I'm really pretty well versed in X-Men lore and all that stuff. I'd say from about 91 till, 2000 or so, I don't really know a lot. I tried not to pay attention because especially the third Summers brother. I don't know if you remember that guy, but he had like a backwards hat and like spikes all over and shit. His name was like Adam X or something. Do you remember this?
That was a joke. Was like, oh, it's a New Mutant. It's a Summers brother. Like there's always some.
You don't remember that from the 90s?
I
It was
don't
like
know.
Adam
I
X.
wasn't reading. I told you. I didn't
Me
read
neither.
it.
But I've read about this character named Adam X.
Yeah.
That was just like the worst type of like 90s.
Even more 90s than Cable. So.
Oh, it was awful. He had like a backwards hat on, like long blonde hair.
Yeah. So anyway,
fucking gross. But yeah. So most of the good
it.
X-Men stuff, let's fucking do it.
Pizza time.
Yeah, one more time. We don't use him enough. I feel bad for Toby. He's not doing anything with his
Pizza
life.
time.
Wow.
Just waiting for us to get the royalties from our drop.
I'd say good luck. Oh.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
I thought you were gonna do you get what you pay for.
Oh well. Fuck you. How's that?
Yeah. Wow.
X-Men 97 review. Only 13 minutes into the episode.
I was singing like 20 minutes ago, I think.
Anyway, the episode To Me, My X-Men, I think is really interesting because within the first few minutes, you kind of get the tone of this whole what this show is going to be and what what it was, what it's throwing back to. And again, I think the strength of this show is being able to modernize that idea, but still feel cheesy. Prime example is we think this kid is a mutant. He's being hunted by the Friends of Humanity, who are an anti-mutant group, because X-Men's always been subtle about the metaphors and allegories it's using. But anyway, or allegories it is.
People with small minds don't get the, allegories.
Yeah. So
Take everything up.
But then we find that out later who this mutant is. But then the X-Men show up to help, and Cyclops shows up and proceeds to be a badass. Which as someone who has been learning more and more about the X-Men, the more I understand how upset comic book readers, for whatever reasons it was with Fox. But I think anybody that was a fan of Cyclops, those Fox movies severely fucked over that character.
Oh, yeah. He was done dirty.
Because that character is so much more interesting and important than what he's made out to be. Because he's obviously... Those are Wolverine's movies. That's what they are.
Yeah, but he's a jerk in the movies.
Yeah.
He's just a whiny little...
And he does
punk.
become, like... Yeah, that's because I've also been reading.
At one point
all
in the
new
comic
X-Men.
books, he kills Xavier. So
Yeah, AVX, man.
Yeah.
Avengers versus X-Men.
yeah,
But I love seeing him get some respect, and you get to see why people like him so much as a character. Because he shows up, he grabs the mutant, and then the people are trying to fight him, and he goes, okay. He grabs him, and then he proceeds to fight. And we see him use his beams... Because people think they always make the misconception that they're heat waves, they're concussion blasts. from his the Starjammer stuff.
From his eyes.
From where they are, the realm they're in, or whatever the fuck. But yeah, it's tied to his dad being a space pirate.
Not really.
I thought it was.
He's just a mutant. He's just a mutant. Well, okay, so
But-
the Summer's history. Yeah, let's not.
We're
get
not getting into
that
that.
because there's like Mr.
'Cause,
Sinister.
yeah, we
and,
can't-
his dad's a Starjammer and fucking
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
Corsair baby
Hit his head when he fell from a plane when he was what's fucking
He
a
he
lot.
was in an orphanage in Nebraska. Fun fact.
Sinister.
wrong.
Mr. Sinister.
We're talking about Cyclops. Was
Huh.
an
I know,
orphanage.
but Sinister ran the orphanage.
Oh.
He fucked with Summer's kids.
Do you
when
think
they
we'll
were
ever
growing up.
see Sinister in the X-Men?
I don't know. I don't know if you could
But-
could do him right. Yes, but
Yeah.
maybe
so,
Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm calling it Deadpool 3.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Cyclops shows up, hits the blasts.
Yeah, he was moving
Um,
himself around. That was pretty.
But the
fucking
fact
cool.
that he was using his lasers to bounce himself around and use that
Yeah,
momentum
that was
and like
neat.
just beat the shit out of these dudes, it was awesome. And so yeah, he saves the mutant. They go back to the Minch. I don't do an entire episode breakdown, but essentially the people that
It's-
attacked him
it's-
had Sentinel arm cannons. So like, why these shouldn't be existing? We destroyed them a long time ago. This tech is popping up again, pretty much. And
it was essentially a "Hey, get to know us" episode.
well, and it's
This is
and
what we're about.
and it's tying back to
Right,
the
there was-
original series because
Yeah.
the first two episodes of the original series is called Night of the Sentinels, and that whole thing gets introduced.
Right.
So I think it was a nice little like Force Awakens like callback to that first episode.
It definitely, it ties back with there's. I talked to you about how the exposition was done really, really well. So if you do want to come into this cold, you can. You know, like they pretty much you know what everybody's powers are by the end of that episode. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You know. You know what the X-Men are about. They're about rescuing other mutants who are hated and feared by humanity. And if you're not an idiot, you get you understand that the X-Men and mutants are an allegory for every minority that's ever existed.
Mhm.
And can be. I don't want to say is, but can be. Because I don't want to.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
want to.
Well, the show's super woke for another thing too. I mean,
See, the thing
So-
is, like, if you're not aware, like, we don't consider woke, like, that's a dumb word that, like, alt-right idiots use to describe being a decent human being. I mean, I don't know where
it's a word
kind and
which is
compassionate became political, but fuck off.
another word they took from black culture.
Basically, yeah.
Because
Because they're
and-
fucks.
yeah. Well, and this show, like, to think that this show wasn't going to be is ridiculous. Before the show came out, we did a whole segment about it. We talked about it. But I think what's so funny about this episode
Yeah, the showrunner or whatever.
and this show
yeah.
is I can't believe how people didn't expect this show to be what it is in 2024 and what this franchise has always been. X-Men is and if anybody like I've already put that to bed with the whole Eric July shit. It doesn't matter what Stan Lee was intending. What Claremont as far as I'm concerned, while Stan Lee may have created the X-Men, Claremont is what made X-Men the X-Men.
Yes.
Why
that's
people like those
largely
characters so much is
most
because of
people
him.
understand that and accept that as well.
Yeah,
Except
everybody
for
accepts that.
shitheads.
So to think that they wouldn't have those elements in this show, yeah, it's like it's
Also,
silly to me.
I gotta say this, and you guys are the fuckers who do all this shit about Stan Lee said the original creator, motherfucker. The reason why these characters are so great and so layered is because somebody made them, and then the next writer came along and did things with them and built on that character, or an artist, or the next writer after that, or the artist.
And I think
look,
this show is a good example
if you
of
have-
that.
yeah,
of these interpretations of these characters.
if you have, like, yeah, it's awesome that Eric Larson has been doing Savage Dragon every single issue since the beginning, and he's up to like 234 or something like that. That's ridiculous. He's going for a Guinness something. I don't know, whatever. But is it good? I don't know. Shit. I mean, what if he let somebody else take over Savage Dragon and play in that sandbox? Wouldn't that make Savage Dragon a much more layered and awesome character? Not saying he's not, but think about that for a second. Or
So,
Spawn, right?
Other things I wanted to talk about in this episode, I really thought it was Kitty and with Sunspot. I keep talking around it. I can't remember his name, but
Roberto da Costa.
Yes.
He's from Brazil. That's why he speaks in Portuguese.
Roberto is in the
Brazil.
Is in the danger room with Kitty,
Danger Zone,
and he's just like fucking around with it. He's like, "Who cares? It's fake. It's a simulation."
It's Jubilee, not Kitty.
Oh yeah, it's Jubilee. Sorry.
The fuck.
Sorry.
Jesus.
So then Wolverine jumps on top of him, and he puts two of his claws around his head, and he holds the middle one, and he goes, "They're real funny," in the simulation, and they do. And then Wolverine's still on top of him, and I thought that was great. Wolverine doesn't get a ton of play in these first two episodes.
I'm okay with that.
And I'm okay with it because he got overplayed so much in those movies, in those X-Men movies.
Let some other characters take center stage.
Yeah.
I'm fine
And
with
I
that.
think that's another thing that what has made this so appealing to me is how they focus so much on Scott and Magneto in these first two episodes that I think that's another thing that made me so invested. And I think another thing is this is a different iteration on Magneto than we're used to seeing in the live action movies. For someone like me who hasn't always been super into X-Men, this is another interpretation of that character for me.
Issue number 200 or 300 of the Uncanny X-Men, I can't remember. But it was John Romita Jr. and Chris Claremont. It was the trial of Magneto in Paris. And the Fenris, I think, I can't remember their names, but they attacked, and then Freedom Force attacked, and during the whole melee and stuff, Magneto was found. He was eventually found not guilty because basically what happened was he was reduced to the age of an infant by
that was so silly.
Yeah, so by the time he had his trial again, he was like 30 or something. I don't remember. But so they talked about, like, is he still responsible for his crimes because he started life over, blah, blah. Anyway, Xavier has a heart attack, and he has to go with the Starjammers because they are the only ones who have the technology to help him, which is really dumb because you live on a planet with Reed Richards and Tony Stark and fucking the fuck you doing? You know what? I mean, fucking Hank McCoy. God damn.
They had to just get rid. But
sure, great,
let's not get too in the weeds.
I'm not. I'm just saying that's how I know. Like, Magneto was like the headmaster for a while.
But that is that was. Is there anything in the first episode you really wanted to touch? Oh. So when they do find out about the Sentinels, before that, when Jean Grey was having that weird acid trip, when who's the dude in the jail that she was talking to with the glasses?
Henry Peter Gyrick.
Yeah, Gyrick, that piece of shit.
Piece of shit.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, piece of shit.
Again.
So here's a funny little note. If
little tidbit.
If I ever wanted, I've always wanted at some point to be able to be a character in one of these movies, right? Because it's possible. It's far from the realm of actual possibility, but it's
you like
possible.
To think you could.
It's not plausible, but it's possible, sure. But who would I be able to play? And honestly, this shithead. Got red hair. He's kind of a dick.
You're kind of stuck doing that. I mean, unfortunately.
I'm not going to be one of the heroes unless it's Cypher, who's the teenage dude who fucking does languages, and I ain't no teenager. I ain't no teenager.
In my heart, I am.
I'm a teenager, baby.
But
don't you know?
So, just I know we're so terrible at this. We should maybe take notes when we watch these things.
No. Did you still want me to?
No. I just for me the big thing was they tracked down the Sentinels.
Yeah.
But that whole like weird thing with Jean and Cerebro messing with her head and all that stuff. I was like, oh, okay, this is weird and interesting and cool.
It's just, I mean, like when you when I watch, like, when we have to watch for Grift Report and shit, these alt-right shitheads, like, that's what I hear and see is Henry Peter Gyrick.
Yeah.
And Bolivar Trask. I mean, that's what I see, and that's what I hear, because that's what you sound like, and that's what you look. I mean, not look like, but that's what you act like. You're bigots, and you're unable to comprehend, like, when you talk about, like, I mean, it's very thinly veiled racism and bigotry. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious in this show, and
In this show, yeah, but
yeah,
I mean,
but no, it's getting worse. Like the, and that's why a show like this and stories like X-Men
it was a great episode.
are always going to have a place and always be about these different minority groups. If you can't see that, or if you don't think that exists,
Then you're probably not
you're
part of a
full of
minority
shit.
group.
I'm sorry, you're full of shit, or you just.
You're
I
probably
always,
white.
I always say this with that reaction with the whole morph shit and all this other stuff. Like, if you truly,
Oh, and yeah,
if you truly believe, if you don't think X-Men is woke or has always been woke,
Yeah.
either you're stupid or you're full of shit. I'm sorry, there's no in between.
Because guess what Wolverine doesn't like is bullies, and you motherfuckers are bullies. But when Morph was fucking with Wolverine in the club in that first episode, that was great.
Yeah.
And the only way he can pull it off is if he can be both female and male characters. And you want to know why they said he was non-binary before the show even came out? To shut you fucking idiots up. Because they knew that as soon as you saw that fucking scene, how come he's a man and a woman? Bam.
Do you think that those same people are mad about Wolverine kind of being in a throuple with Scott and Jean and like the Hickman stuff, the Krakoan era stuff? It's kind of weird, kind of kinky though. Anyway,
Hey man, if that's what they want to do, dude.
oh yeah, when they're trying to find the Sentinels, that club scene was really interesting and character. And like you talked about it, you're saying the exposition.
Yeah, with Rogue.
With Rogue talking about, if I could touch these people, if I could touch and all the fun.
I mean, it's a great way to like explain if you're not aware of what because you might not, if you
Yeah.
don't know anything about Rogue, it's like, what is her power? Like, well, it's kind of tough to explain. Oh, good job, Rogue. Thank you.
Also, we don't, in the movies, we don't really touch on this, but in the comics and in the cartoons, she's kind of overpowered because she can fly.
She can fly and
She can suck people's powers, and then she also is kind of like Wolverine. She's almost like invincible. Jesus, knocking over the microphone.
Really sorry. No, what happened is that if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, don't jump all over me. You fucking or do.
You better get it.
No, but if I'm not mistaken, the reason why she can fly and why she is super strong and super invulnerable and everything is because she once stole. There was like a really bad reaction when she stole Carol Danvers' Miss Marvel powers.
Yes. Yeah.
And for like a while, she like had like an issue with like her mental state, I think.
Yes.
But she always has retained the flight and strength and super armor, super skin, whatever you want to call it, super invulnerable. That's what I remember, but I could be wrong. I just that's what I remember about her character. She dealt with that a lot in the first issues that I was
I think the ones that got the most shine in this episode was probably be Cyclops. But like what I love about, and I've said this when we did Drawn to DC, and this is when I'm reading a team comic book or I'm watching a Justice League movie, Avengers movie, X-Men. I want it like I'm gonna use a pro wrestling term here. I wanted to watch every one of these dudes get their shit in. And what I mean by get your shit in pro wrestling means everybody. It's a multi-man
gets a
match.
time to share.
Everybody gets their big moves in.
Yes.
And so when you see that in the final fight in the first episode where they find out where the Sentinels are, and they already kind of showed it already online, but I didn't watch it very much. But to know also that all the cool shit that we saw in the trailer were like the first two episodes, so there's so much other shit that's happening.
Dude, what's even?
But
go ahead.
yeah, no, I know it was a big
No, go ahead.
wide open there. wide opening. But
Wow.
to see them like converge and fight the Sentinels was fucking rad.
Dude, watching Wolverine, I was just gonna say,
With Gambit.
well, that was cool, but also just watching him just go to town on a Sentinel, and then like, yeah, we talked about it with the first Avengers movie where they have that whole scene that like, that iconic, they go around and they look at every single Avenger. It was kind of the same thing, Beast like ripped off a dude, and got inside and made
I
himself
hope
like
you don't mind.
fucking,
Talks
excuse
like,
me, I'm gonna make you a fucking kaiju or whatever.
Fucking Hank.
Yeah, like a mech. I'm gonna make you a mecha.
Yeah, he takes and he just starts fucking using the Gundam.
Right,
like it's a Gundam.
Everybody had their moment. You're right. Yeah. But I loved you. We were talking about Wolverine didn't get a lot of play. Yeah.
Before that, again, reestablishing Cyclops being a badass.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I don't know if this was intentional or not, but it felt like a really funny in-joke about the Quinjet always fucking exploding. Because before they even get there, a Sentinel shoots down their fucking jet. Which, again, fits because the jet is always destroyed and the mansion is always destroyed.
Yeah.
So that blows up. And then I feel like because it happened so much, Cyclops is super chill about it. He's like, all right, I'll see you on the ground.
Yeah.
And then proceeds to just fucking nosedive, and then before he hits the ground, uses his blasts to keep him up. Like, god damn it, it's so fucking cool. Like,
That'd be murder on
and then to
neck,
see the
though.
other, like, you see
Yikes.
Storm just fly down. You see, obviously Wolverine's gonna make it because of his healing factor and all that. Like, it was just so cool.
Oh, what really fucked me up was, I'm watching this and I'm not thinking about Morph at all. And I'm watching this, and here's fucking Archangel.
Oh yeah, the fact that Morph turned into Archangel and started flying around.
Totally fucked with me because I was like, because then they get back on the ground and everything, and I'm like, hey, I saw a mistake.
Yeah.
Like no,
I was like, oh yeah, it was Morph.
That was Morph. Because if you're not aware, back in the day, in the comics, you could win a no prize. And we'll have to talk about that some.
Oh, if you could
someday.
point to continuity errors.
Yes.
Oh.
Or why you basically, I don't know what a no prize was, but if you pointed out a continuity error, but gave a reason for why it wasn't, you won. We should do a deep dive on the no prize sometime. It'd be fun. Anyway.
But yeah, that whole sequence was awesome. And then fucking Beast getting into it. My favorite though, and this is how I'm like, fuck yeah. Like I'm watching this pitch black in my living room late at night by myself. Nobody's watching this with me. And I see Cyclops hit the X as a communicator. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, it's just this little like 90s technology nostalgia where I'm like, yeah.
Dude, I really liked how there wasn't really like, it wasn't established that it was like 2024.
No, it's 97.
Yeah,
it's still
fucking
set
cool.
in the X-Men 90s, like that universe. Yeah. But like, so when he hits the communicator and goes, give him the forecast, I'm like, out loud by myself.
Omega level threat detected.
Yes, out loud.
Fuck yeah.
Out loud in my living room by myself. I go, oh, fuck yeah. Like, and I'm just like this, like grinning ear to ear. And because Storm is so fucking cool. And dude, I don't think people understand enough that don't read X-Men as someone who like became a believer of the X-Men as I, read more about the characters.
Yeah.
To see how much Fox butchered her character.
Oh,
butchered
fuck
Cyclops'
yeah.
character.
Oh my God.
Like,
look, Hallie, you're very beautiful, but your lines and the script they wrote for you were shit.
Sucks.
Shit.
But she fucking comes down and like brings.
They did try to, like in The Last Stand, they tried to kind of. Was it The Last Stand? The one where it was the one where she murders Professor X in her home, right? Yeah. But in that one, in the beginning, they tried to they did try to establish the whole feeling of sisterhood between Jean and Storm, because in the comics that's a very real thing. They're really, really good friends, and they do feel like sisters, because when Storm started in the school, she didn't know anybody, but Jean was, who had been there for a long time.
Yeah, because Jean is one of the
Jean
original.
and Cyclops were the only ones who stuck around. originally. Angel, Iceman, and Beast all went their separate ways.
And then Beast mutated again.
Came back. They all,
Because
come back.
he became the blue guy that you know now.
He became an Avenger.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
It is still kind of weird to think about the original. Easter egg in the second episode.
Right, well, let's get to the second episode.
When Magneto grabs the picture in that second episode, it's the original X-Men
Yes.
cover.
Yes. Which is cool as fuck. But yeah, let's get into the second episode.
Yeah. So yeah, the big cliffhanger from episode 1, Magneto is running the X-Men.
Oh, is now mine, my X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh shit, fuck.
Oh shit,
Fucking shit, man. Whoa.
My big problem with this, is Charles. Really, you couldn't trust Scott. Like what?
I think I think there's some stuff going on that we don't know about. A. B. I think that it shows that Charles wanted a life. Didn't he know that Jean was pregnant when he died?
I don't know. But you're saying he wants Scott to focus on his family.
He wants Scott to graduate.
Get out of there, man.
Right?
Start a new life.
I mean,
but
dude,
Scott is but we find this out in the second episode. We saw it in the first episode. We see it more in this episode.
yeah.
Scott is still committed to Charles' mission.
Yeah.
He always has been.
Yes.
Even
Whether
when
Jean
he
likes it or not.
Even when he turned evil with
shit where they get to the hospital is fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
We don't do mutie births. And you don't see the fucking allegory. You don't fucking see it.
No, you do. You're just stupid.
No, no, they do. But they make more money by being ignorant about it and talking bullshit about oh, it's woke. Yeah, you've never experienced fucking bigotry like that because you're probably white. I don't know how to explain.
I mean, they're most.
I don't know how to explain Eric July at all, but okay.
It's mostly white dudes, but
and women.
Yeah. So
they're so nurturing.
This episode is like, yeah. So we get Magneto saying like, "Hey, I understand how you feel, but I've changed.
But fuck off, basically, because I'm doing
Charles
this.
trusted me.
I'm doing this.
Do it, and to show you that I'm committed to turning over a new leaf and being a better person, I'll even go on trial. I'll even fucking do it. I'll turn myself over to the UN.
How fucking cool is that he got the fucking helicopters just going
my God.
buzzsaw around him and shit, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Just as he was going to listen to her no matter what. He was just doing that as a display of power.
Yes.
And it still shows you like how much I think I understand why. The more I think about it, because I always think that Charles and Eric is a weird pairing. But then, I think about how similar they are.
They totally do.
And that whole idea of like,
Just kidding.
They're similar. They want similar goals and better lives for their people, but they're obviously going about it different ways. And
Charles didn't experience what Eric experienced in the Holocaust.
However,
that's a big thing. Yeah.
I think Charles and Eric get along because of how fucking they're both kind of douchebags, and they're both like, let's be honest, Charles Xavier's not perfect. But what I'm trying to get at with all of this is he's showing Magneto is showing off in this scene, and it's like Charles Xavier would show off in that scene too.
Gee,
like it's a display of power.
Did you have any flashbacks of January 6th during the
trial episode?
Did you? Yeah, I did too. That's weird, right? I wonder if they're all talking about that.
Yeah.
Are they?
They are.
Of course.
They're like, oh, obviously it's January. Or one guy's like, I don't get how it's January 6th. It's just depicting a riot or something. And everybody else is like,
dumbass.
Well, what was that?
You said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah. But that whole
the speech he gives at the end.
So but even we're jumping around.
I know.
So he's going to have this trial. It's a big display
at the UN.
And all this is happening at the same time. Yeah.
Notice the three people questioning him are white.
Friends of Humanity are breaking down the barriers, who are coming into the
and hurting cops.
Capitol, trying to get to Magneto. because the Executioner's with him.
Weren't they trying to get at the traitors? Right?
Yeah.
Wow, weird.
Yeah.
Man, it's
So,
almost like
This
yeah.
scene in particular, I want to kind of break down a little bit
Yeah.
and talk about in a sense of like, so the Executioner shows up. He presents himself to
We
Cyclops.
talked about this off the air, yeah.
He hits Cyclops and knocks his visor off. So Cyclops keeps his eyes closed, and he just gets pummeled by this guy. And while he's doing it, he's like, you know what pisses me off about mutants is humans have it hard, just as hard too.
Yeah.
We just don't complain about it. All you do is complain about it. We all have problems, blah blah, And that clip got shared a bunch on Twitter by someone saying like, how relevant is this? How many people of a minority group have had someone say this to them?
Yeah.
Yada yada yada. And then, people got upset about it, and we were like, some people were sharing that and being like, how could this guy be interpreted as the villain? Like, somebody said that. And I'm like, listen to what he's saying. Because it's like, like, if you don't understand the context of him saying it, like, I have it hard too. Like,
villain says what? No, I mean, like, dude, you are a villain if you're asking that question. You're the villain. If you can't readily tell who's the good guy and the bad guy in like
to say that we both to have the comment this guy does of we both have problems, where one group of people, the mutants, who hunted, prosecuted, and hated and maligned for no other reason for them being a mutant,
that they exist,
and you think that guy's right to say I have problems. Yeah, we all have fucking problems, but it's a little bit different of having a problems of like, oh, my car fucking broke down,
Yeah.
or something's wrong with my house, versus
Yeah.
oh, I might die today because somebody might beat me to death because I'm gay or black or what,
Yeah. Who the fuck are you that you've never experienced that? Oh, so it doesn't exist. Fuck you. That's so fucking selfish and
the
fucking
most
shitty
the most
of you.
poignant part. The most
If you
poignant
are
part
saying.
about this whole fight where Cyclops is getting beating up. Cyclops doesn't open his eyes because he could obliterate this human and a lot of other people, and it would make mutants look bad. So he's so committed to his own beliefs and causes for his own people that he takes a beating because he can't retaliate.
Yeah.
And if you don't get that's such a beautiful allegory, and I don't understand how people could look at that and not like. I understand not liking the show for whatever reason,
Sure.
but to hate it for reasons
That
like
re-
that
yeah.
and not think the X-Men wasn't always like this is ridiculous.
The speech that Magneto gives when he takes everybody up to like way high up in the fucking sky, which was so badass, by the way. But the speech that he gives is so fucking poignant and so true. He's just like, look, man, don't make me let you down figuratively and literally, motherfucker. All right? Like, that was fucking cool as fuck.
Well,
And-
even
and
before
fucking-
that, I want to point this out. Even before that, when they know that they're trying to break in to get to Magneto, Magneto takes off the cuffs, which shows he could have taken them off at any point because, of course, he pulls those pillars.
Well, they have to take his collar off first.
Yeah,
but
they
they
take
do.
his collar
Yeah.
off. That's never his power. So then he pulls the pillars, puts them around, and then Storm comes around with the electromagnetic field to make like a fence. And again, to protect all these people that hate him. And I'm not saying that Magneto doesn't deserve the hate that he's getting for this, but
No.
I'm just saying that, like, Storm is working with Magneto to further the cause for mutants.
Yes.
They're making these alliances to further their cause. And then, yes, we have that moment where Magneto, when he has said that line before, he said it in comics, he said it in movies, he said it on this show before, I'm pretty sure, where he says, never again. And that moment usually means, oh, fuck, he's going to kill someone. But in that moment, he decides to lift them up out of the air and carry them towards...
Well, first
almost
Storm
towards,
loses her fucking powers.
right, yeah, so Executioner gets through,
The
shoots...
speech he gives about that, like, this is what you want. You want to see our kind splayed out and powerless. That's what your fucking dream is. Well, let me tell you about my dream.
Yeah.
And then he fucking takes them all upstairs. Takes them all up fucking...
almost to space.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Dude, fucking
And
powerful.
holds them there and says all those things, and then he says, I'm trying to be better.
Yeah, don't make me let you down.
Yeah. And whether or not we truly believe him, that's what makes Magneto a great villain. And I think is such a powerful episode and such
episode. Yeah, it was good.
Again, I think that first episode really leaned in heavy to the nostalgia, and then the second episode kind of it still did, obviously, but kind of felt like it was still. We kind of have a direction a little bit.
We could lean. Yeah, we're talking about a season and a storyline and
yeah.
things
So
that are
now
happening.
the storyline is starting to develop.
We briefly touched on, and I don't really need to go into it anymore, but we briefly touched on the whole Rogue having to get the doctor's know-how to deliver Jean's baby because the doctor's like, we don't do mutie births. You don't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you don't think that's, I mean, come on. We don't need to get into that any further other than to say that, yeah, that's an allegory too. And if you don't know that. But what about the cliffhanger at the end? Do you think it's the original X-Men coming back from like the past? Like they did in the comics?
Oh, I thought it was. Doesn't Jean have like a clone or a twin sister?
Well, that's Madeline Pryor. And
you think that's her, maybe?
No, because they didn't they say Jean? And didn't... I don't know. Because Jean...
I don't know. Could it be? I don't know.
Jean looked like... What the fuck?
So you're saying the original 92s? Like, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
Like the original X-Men? Like the 60s X-Men?
Yes.
Like, what are we talking about?
In the comics, recently...
Well, I know. Are we doing the all-new X-Men idea?
I don't know.
Because
I don't know.
I don't think you would do that here.
I don't think you need to, and I don't think
No.
that's something you would bring into this
that
iteration of the
storyline-
X. That belongs to the 2000s, not the 90s.
And that storyline is something that works better with Scott at that point, where his character
Did
had
they
killed Xavier and all that
So
shit.
you didn't watch the original show, so you don't know if Madeline Pryor ever showed up in the original.
I don't know.
So
That's one of my guesses.
If yeah,
Or maybe... Is she a mutant? Madeline Pryor?
no, she's a clone of Jean Grey, but she turns out to be like this Goblin Queen during the Inferno.
I was going to say, or maybe it was
There was
something...
an Inferno event that happened in the late 80s, and she becomes the Goblin Queen.
I
and
thought it was going to tie back
tries
to...
to steal the baby.
I thought it was going to tie back to something with Cerebro.
Maybe, I don't know.
Also, I love...
It's a mystery.
I love in the second episode, like I thought it was gonna tie to Cerebro and like she finds a mutant that looks just like her or something. I don't know. The fact that Wolverine has to help Jean deliver the baby is great because Cyclops is busy with the Magneto trial. The fucking he's here. Who? Apocalypse. And,
The baby. You fuck.
Oh crap! Like I love that.
Shit.
Like Wolverine.
Apocalypse.
It's nice to see Wolverine kind of again put aside his weird crush on Jean and help her deliver her baby.
Although, hey, drive a little better, man. She is pregnant. Why are you making her move people out of the way off the sidewalk? You fuck. What a dick.
Well, she's got mind powers.
So what? She's fucking trying to hold the baby in or whatever the fuck happens. I don't know. I know you don't hold the baby in. It's not like
He
having
didn't
to
just pop out.
It's not like having to take a shit.
Yeah.
I better get to a toilet soon.
So that was a fun little hijinks.
We're gonna get letters from the pro-life people on that one.
Mm. Also, do you think Wolverine hung back with Jean because it's like, well, if Magneto does break out, I can't really do anything because I got fucking metal claws
Probably.
just hanging out here.
I'd rather he didn't remove every bit of adamantium from my body again. God damn it.
Learn where your feet are.
Fucking stupid fucking thing. You know why? It's because of this guy coming over to my... No, I'm not going to blame it on the dog.
Yeah, blame it on the dog.
Yeah,
you
fuck
rat
you,
bastard.
jerk. You're all woke.
We
and
also
you
have
blame
to
it on
talk about the weird ending of episode 2 where we're setting up Rogue and Magneto being romantic.
Whatever. I don't... No, we don't.
It happens in the comics.
We don't need to talk
They have
about
a baby in the
Great.
Age of Apocalypse
Great.
timeline.
Yes. We don't need
But-
to talk about it.
It's weird.
Gambit's feeling all sad. I don't give a
Gambit
shit.
got cucked,
Whatever.
man.
Yeah, whatever, dude.
Sucks,
Gambit, whatever.
Mon ami, why? What? That was
She just wanted some dicking, and it was just the nighttime was the right time.
Start drinking. You just want some dicking.
Dude, look, okay, look, can I explain something to you? Let's get into it then.
Magneto's
My,
cock?
no, my love language is touch.
You think it's rogues?
I'm being serious. I don't experience touch from other humans a lot. And it physically hurts that I don't. And can you imagine somebody like Rogue who has never, ever been touched? Because she can't be. And meeting somebody who can touch her skin to skin? Oh, dude. Oh, yeah, I'm fucking wet. You don't think she's fucking wet? I'm sorry. I'm sorry to bring it down to sexuality, but I mean figuratively also.
hard. Are you hard?
I mean figuratively also. Doesn't that just turn you on? Like, oh my God. Like you by process of elimination, having never had experience of that before, you have to experience like, oh my God, this is fucking incredible and I want more. That's human nature.
I'm emotionally hard right now.
Sure. I got a mental dick. I got a mental boner right now. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.